So what if those fantasy stories we all loved growing up, the ones with talking animals and magic wardrobes, what if they weren't just stories?
Hmm. You want?
What if they actually held these, like, hidden warnings about our world right now? I'm thinking about C.S. Lewis's Narnia series.
Narnia. Yeah, classic
Yes.
children's books, absolutely. But warnings.
Well, that's the idea. We came across this really interesting article suggesting that maybe, just maybe, Narnia is kind of holding up a mirror to the spiritual, political, even moral stuff going on today, like prophecies written decades ago.
That is a fascinating idea, prophecies in Narnia.
Yeah.
Okay? The article argues these books have these, well, unsettling echoes of challenges we're grappling with right now.
Exactly. And to really get into that, you kind of have to think about who Lewis was. He wasn't just a storyteller.
Right. He was a serious academic, wasn't he? A scholar of old texts.
Yeah, and a WWI vet. Saw some terrible things. Plus, he had this huge personal journey, from being an atheist to having this deep faith.
So he understood people
Yeah.
at their best.
And at their absolute darkest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that perspective feels, well, crucial if you're going to entertain this idea of hidden meanings, maybe even prophetic ones, in Narnia.
Okay, I see where you're going. The article's point is that Lewis's background, his whole life experience, it infused Narnia with something more than just, like, surface-level fantasy.
Right. Underneath the magic and the battles, there might be this deeper layer of symbolism, maybe even a message meant for later generations. For us, potentially.
A message for us, okay.
Yeah. So that's what we want to do in this deep dive. Let's explore these parallels the article draws between Narnia, the events, the themes, and the things we see around us today.
See if these books offer a new lens, maybe.
Yeah.
A fresh way to look at things, not just Narnia itself, but our own lives.
Exactly. Okay, so let's dive in. And where else to start? But with the big guy himself.
Aslan.
Aslan, yeah. The article points out, pretty obviously, that on the surface, he's the noble lion, right? Brave, just, the protector.
The ultimate good guy. But then you dig a bit deeper, and the connections to Christ are, well, they're hard to miss. The sacrifice, the coming back from death, the love for his followers.
Mm-hmm.
And the article really hammers this home. These aren't just, like, vague similarities. Lewis put them there deliberately. They're part of the story's DNA.
Which, okay, if you're thinking about prophecy, that adds another layer entirely. Remember the lion, the witch, and the wardrobe?
Of course. The endless winter.
Yes. Narnia is stuck in this perpetual winter under the White Witch. It's cold, there's no joy, just this fear hanging over everything. And then Aslan shows up.
Then spring arrives, life comes back. It's incredibly visual.
So vivid. But the article says, hold on, this isn't just simple allegory.
Right, it pushes further. It suggests that the White Witch's winter isn't just a plot point. It's a symbol.
A symbol of what, exactly?
Of a world that's lost its way. A world lacking truth, lacking faith, lacking, well, basic morality. Think about always winter, but never Christmas. Christmas is all about hope, rebirth. Its absence really highlights this spiritual dead zone.
And that's where it starts to feel a bit close to home, maybe. You read that and think, huh.
It's hard not to see some parallels, yeah. The article points out how evil, like the witch, often tempts people with promises, comfort, maybe security, even this twisted idea of equality.
But it always comes at a huge cost.
Exactly. And the article draws this line straight to our own time where, the whole idea of objective truth can feel slippery, where faith sometimes gets pushed to the margins and traditional moral ideas are constantly being questioned or torn down.
It feels like Lewis was thinking long-term, doesn't it? Not just about his own time.
That's what's striking, which leads into the next book. The article tackles Prince Caspian.
Ah, Caspian, where things have changed quite a bit in Narnia.
They really have. Because the Narnians we meet there, well, they've basically forgotten Aslan. He's become just a legend, old story.
Something kids believe in, maybe. They laugh about it.
Mm-hmm. When the Pevensey kids actually come back, people are skeptical. They're like, Aslan, really, those old tales. There's ridicule even.
And the article sees that as a reflection of what? Our time again.
It interprets that forgetting, that Narnian amnesia, as a picture of spiritual apathy.
Mm-hmm.
Where people get so caught up in the day-to-day, the material stuff, that they just lose connection to anything bigger.
Like Lewis saw a future where tradition, old beliefs, they'd just be swapped out for this kind of cynical skepticism.
Pretty much.
Uh-huh.
Where the wisdom of the past gets tossed aside until, as the article puts it rather bluntly, the darkness finds a way back in.
Wow. Okay. That connects to Puddleglum, right? In the
Huh?
silver chair. There's that amazing speech he
Oh,
gives.
absolutely. The article really highlights that moment. Polyglum facing total doubt, underground, being told Narnia isn't real.
Yeah, that the sun, the stars, Aslan, it's all just a game they made up to cope with the darkness.
And Puddleglum says, basically, even if that's true, even if Narnia is just a dream, it's a better way to live. He's going to like a Narnian anyway, even if there isn't any Narnia. That famous line.
That line hits hard. The article suggests it speaks to a time, maybe our time, where even people of strong faith might feel shaken, where truth feels hard to grasp.
Fragile. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Lewis, through Puddleglum, offers this message of, grit. Keep hold of what you know is right, deep down, even when it's tough, even when no one else agrees, even when reality itself feels wobbly.
It's a call for sticking to your guns, morally and spiritually.
Definitely. It implies Lewis knew how tempting doubt could be and how vital that inner conviction is, especially when society's shifting or beliefs are under fire.
Okay, so that brings us to the last book, The Last Battle, which the article kind of presents as the big one, the most prophetic, maybe.
It makes a bold claim, yeah, because here you see the actual end of Narnia and how it happens. Well, viewed through this lens the article provides, it's pretty chilling.
How does the downfall start? The article focuses on deception.
Deception is key. It starts with a fake Aslan, a donkey in a lion's skin, manipulated by this cunning ape shift to control everyone.
And the Narnians are told, obey this Aslan, even though what he commands goes against everything the real Aslan stood for.
Right. And slowly, bit by bit, they start to comply. They go along with it.
Yeah.
And their memory of the real Aslan starts to fade.
Okay, now that feels sharp. The article is basically saying Lewis predicted an age where people could be easily fooled by leaders, by ideologies, all dressed up as the right thing.
That's the argument. That he saw how fear or just wanting an easy life could lead people to swallow lies without really questioning them. A society susceptible to manipulation.
Wow. He wrote that were last stuffies.
Mid-50s. Yeah. It's quite something to think about.
But the article doesn't leave it all bleak, does it? There's still hope in the last battle.
Oh, absolutely. It emphasizes that truth does win out in the end. Despite all the lies, the real Aslan does return. So Lewis clearly held on to this fundamental belief that truth ultimately is stronger than falsehood. It might take time, but it prevails.
So let's tie this all together. Why should any of this matter to you, listening right now? According to the article, Lewis wasn't just writing kids' stories.
No, he was digging into these huge, timeless struggles. Good versus evil, truth versus lies, the stuff that's always been part of being human.
And the idea is that we're not just reading about it. Like the Pevensey kids, we're kind of in it. We all have a part to play.
The article brings up that Lewis quote, something about preparing children for enemies.
Yeah. Since it is so likely that children will meet cruel enemies, let them at least have heard of brave knights and heroic courage. Great quote.
But then the article flips it and asks, well, what if that wasn't just for children? What if that message, face the tough stuff, hold on to truth, was meant for all of us now?
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Like the challenges you face, the doubts you have, maybe that sense that things are off in the world. What if Lewis, through Narnia, was actually giving us a sort of, I don't know, a map? A way to understand and maybe navigate these things. A reminder to stay anchored.
It's a really powerful thought. The article wraps up by suggesting, basically, next time Narnia comes to mind, don't just think of it as fantasy.
Yeah.
Think of it as potentially a prophecy, a warning maybe, that still resonates today.
And it ends with that other great Lewis line, once a king or queen in Narnia, always a king or queen.
Right. But the article adds that crucial bit, that kingship, that queenship. It starts with believing in something true.
So maybe it's worth revisiting those books with all this in mind. Could there be more there than just nostalgia? Insights for right now.
Definitely food for thought, something to consider.